Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film Predestination. It's like a complicated, interesting time warp loop of a time paradox movie that sort of makes no sense, but you're still really into it anyway, which is kind of its own thing. Both bizarre, progressive, intensely interesting. It's a weird fucking movie, and in some ways it's very predictable. It's both thought-provoking and then leaves me dumbfounded. I will say, you'll remember it. It's kind of a hard film to describe, and it's almost hard to talk about without giving away the whole film, but I'll try my best. A time-traveling agent played by Ethan Hawke goes back to the 70s to stop a bomber called the Fizzle Bomber, who I guess is a evil time-traveling person. His time travel agency tries to stop major catastrophes that happen. The Fizzle Bomber, Ethan Hawke's character, has been trying to capture and take out for a very long time, but in this time he's a bartender, and then a man walks in and starts telling his story, and his story is incredibly interesting and amazing about how he used to be a woman, was given surgery to become a man, had a child actually before that, and tried to be involved in a space program when he was a she, and everything that happened in an incredibly interesting life. And it's probably the best part of the movie, and it's the part that grabbed me the most. But then Ethan Hawke introduces the man to time travel and gets him involved in the time travel agency so that they can both find the Fizzle Bomber. This is directed by the Spears brothers, Michael and Peter Spears, and the part in the beginning where you have the man telling his story and how this woman became a transgender man is the part that I think really grabs you the most. And there's a certain amount of what they call world building, and you understand this character very well, and so they don't really need to get into the character who is played by Sarah Snook, who is really good in this film since she plays both genders and incredibly well. You see her play such a wide range of characters. It's kind of like what Tilda Swinton did in Orlando. She's so good at it. I really can't wait to see more from Sarah Snook. She's such an impressive young actress in this film, and she's so compelling in it. I mean, when she's telling her story and her whole life story, it's very gripping, and I think it's probably the best the film has to offer. Now, when it gets into its whole time loopy, nonsensy thing, I would do a spoiler section for this, but it would take me all day to explain this shit. There's certain things where they don't show you someone's face and immediately you're like, okay, this is like this person or this is this person. But it still intrigued me. Right after the story ended, this whole film felt like it was so close to the edge of going into just terrible stupidness. And it was like really riding the line. And the Spears brothers, you know, their last film was Daybreakers, which was an interesting concept, wasn't really a good movie. Predestination has so many weird twists and turns to it. You're kind of brought in and it's not really letting you go as an audience member. Okay, I'll go with this, I guess. But then you're like, where does this go? I'm kind of interested in this. Okay, I'll go with that. And then you're like, what? That's so dumb. Oh, okay, that's kind of, oh. And it's like the whole movie is just like this wide range of emotions from you as an audience member, but it's never like a consistent level of quality, like kind of dipping in and out and weaving through, that I am impressed by the Spears brothers for making such an odd, strange time travel film that this is, that involves a very good and progressive portrayal of a transgender character. The way Sarah Snook plays Jane/John. Sarah Snook has so many tiny little nuances of both John and Jane that you can absolutely tell them apart, and they do feel like almost completely different people. Sarah Snook, it's just like amazing the dedication she had as an actress. It's just ridiculous what she accomplished in this film. It's an amazing performance. It's one of the better female performances I've seen in a long time, and especially for a sci-fi film. Ethan Hawke has a weird fucking career. He does Richard Linklater movies, and then he does B sci-fi and action stuff. I mean, he was in Getaway, and then he was in The Purge, and then he was in Boyhood, and then he's in the Before films, and now he's in this. His career makes no fucking sense, but I kind of love that about Ethan Hawke. I thought he did one of his better performances in this film. Both him and the Spears brothers showed a lot more of a dedication to making a different kind of sci-fi film, and that's something that goes throughout Daybreakers also, but I think they committed to it that regardless of how you feel about this, this is 100% a different kind of science fiction film and a different kind of time travel movie, and it shows how they can really take on the genre and do interesting things with it. At the end of the film, I felt like it could could go on forever. It almost didn't feel like it ended. It felt like I could just be trapped watching Predestination forever, and it would keep pulling out interesting turns about this time travel and what these people have done within their own past and the world past. Its clear distinction from being a really great time travel movie is like, you look at The Time Machine, like the original, not that remake or whatever, or the first two Back to the Future movies, or even the story of X-Men Days of Future Past, or Day of the Daleks from Doctor Who. When you get into that, you're saying something about humanity as a whole, and Predestination isn't really about that, but it's not really a story that can take that on. It's really just a story about certain characters and what time travel has actually done to them and through their lives. I guess Looper's kind of close to that, or maybe like the Terminator movies or something, but well, no, because that's the culture thing. And same with Looper, kind of shows you the culture and how it's changed through time. Predestination doesn't really go too much in the future. It goes from the 80s to the 50s and the 60s. It's a time travel movie that will keep you guessing and thinking about it. A lot of what it's doing, I don't think that would like work. It's based on a short story called All You Zombies by Robert Hyland. That apparently plays more with language and is a little more playful than Predestination the movie is. It is an interesting idea, and it's definitely one when people go, oh, you ever hear of great time travel movies? I feel like this is one where you bring up and go, you know which one is interesting, but it's not necessarily a good one. And if you're into time travel movies, I think this is one that will have you intrigued. It's so odd and strange in what it's doing that you're shocked, half confused, half applauding the film, part thinking like, that doesn't work. I know people have like tried to map out how exactly the timeline works and how it all fits together. It is a very ambitious movie. For the most part, it pulls it off, really. At the end of it, I'm like, wow, that was really interesting, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if that works. With that doesn't work. This had too many like weird little twisty things in it. I haven't seen twists done in a good way in a while. It just seemed to rely too much on that. Like most of the time you're in a different time and you're going through that, but this seemed to bounce all over the place and go back to things and explain, oh, this is why this happened, but it was always supposed to go this way, but this happened because of this, and they needed this because of that. Too many things going on, but I can't help but be compelled by it and say that it was an interesting movie, even if I know parts of it didn't work, even if I know the Spirit Brothers put style in it that the kind of noir thing doesn't work for it. There are definite problems with this movie, but it's so ambitious and interesting and odd and out there that I kind of can't help but like it. It's really hard to just throw this aside. It's like I couldn't do that. I was so wrapped up into it. Certainly some parts are better at doing that than others. It is an odd experience of a movie. The whole time travelness of it, I don't know entirely works. It's such a different kind of time travel film that trying to compare it to past ones is, now that I'm thinking about it, now that I'm thinking about Predestination even more, it's like doing a disservice, because it's a really interesting, odd, little weird Australian science fiction time travel movie. Sure, maybe it's not my favorite, but it's a film that I find really interesting, and I bet you I'm gonna think about for the next couple days, good or bad. There are bad parts. There are incredibly good parts. There is great acting. There is great ideas with time travel. But it's just like, what is this? Part of me goes, maybe I don't like this movie. Maybe I do like this movie, but I like this part, but I like this. It's so confusing sometimes to wrap my brain around this movie. Predestination is the kind of time travel movie I like because it leaves you rethinking about time travel in a way that I don't think I'd ever think about time travel in that way before. Like, that can happen with time travel. It semi reinvents the genre, but also kind of doesn't understand it, but also does interesting things with it. This is a mind fuck to fucking figure out. It is an interesting time travel movie. What it's doing is just so fucking weird. I think that's the end result of Predestination, is you're just like, that is just a very strange idea. You're kind of with it, even if it's not adhering to what made all those time travel movies great. It doesn't really need to, because it's such a unique, strange, odd time travel movie that you'll not soon forget a movie like Predestination. And I know it's going to be really hard for me too. So if you have seen Predestination and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.